I got to tell you about my cousin Tetta. I just loved her because she had a fabulous sense of humor, and she was a school teacher. And she taught school for 42 years, and you would think everybody would be, yay, Tetta, you did great. But there was this one parent that walked up to her with their fist in her face, just like this, and said, lady, I got a good mind to knock your teeth down your throat. She said, I'll save you the trouble. She took out her dentures. We're so tickled. And when Tony said, yes, let's pick a time, and I shared it with everybody, I told Tony just now, it was like, Elvis is back. But that just shows you how much Tony was loved. And so what a wonderful friend, business person, and just all around wonderful mom, mother-in-law, grandmother. Tony's so proud of those grandchildren. But she's going to talk all about what she's doing, what she's been doing, what's happening with Jeannie. Still, things are just amazingly busy because people will never forget the wonderful Jeannie Robertson and the wonderful Tony. So I'm bringing Tony in. Here we go. I'm excited.
Are we there?
Hey. Yeah.
Okay.
We're just so tickled.
I don't know about that, but okay. Okay. We'll talk. This is not my best thing to do. Well, talking actually is. I do talk a lot, but not where people are listening. Nobody's usually listening when I'm talking.
Well, they're going to listen now because they sure miss you. I'll tell you that. Well, tell me, everyone, the anniversary, sadly, for Jeannie was the 21st.
Right. 21st was 2 years. Amazingly, 2 years. Yep.
It's hard to wrap your head around that. But how are you doing? Let's start out with that.
I'm doing okay. I'm doing great, really. I still work for Jeannie. That seems strange, but as you know, as you said, people are always going to love Jeannie, and she left such a legacy. And when she passed away, we made the decision to extend that legacy as long as people seem to want us to. And Jeannie had worked so hard on all her DVDs and products and things. She wants people to still laugh. She wants them to enjoy that humor. And so we're doing it while there's a need, while people want it. I'll get into more of what we've done that's new. Most people know, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. You wanted to update my family. Now, you had Patrick on a couple of weeks ago, so yes. You pretty much we're the same family. So I'll probably duplicate what he said. However, let's see.
Well, I know you got one out of college and one in college, a grandchild.
One out, one in at the same school. And the one out is, I actually had lunch with both of them today.
Oh.
I have a friend who we meet halfway between Raleigh and Burlington in Durham area every 2 or 3 weeks. And so when the boys are available, they will always come for a free meal. They love to come eat. So this time Jack was available, and Robert happened to get out of class by 11:30. So on Wednesday, so he therefore could come. So Jack brought Robert, and they came to lunch, and it was really good to see them both. Haven't seen them in like 2 weeks, which we don't see Jack as often because he's been in Raleigh for 4 years. But Robert, that's the longest we haven't seen Robert, is to have him gone for 2 weeks. He's in class, loving it and enjoying everything. And Jack is he's getting ready. I think on the 11th, he starts his new real job, going into full adult mode. Which
that's
will be
awesome.
Fun.
Yeah, Patrick was so excited. He said, gee, he's got a really good job.
Right. And I think that he had just gotten hired like the day before Patrick was on. So we're still excited. He's, doing all the paperwork and stuff now and getting ready to start. I think the 11th is his first day. And the 11th, Jane, whether you realize it or not, 19 years ago on the 11th, you were busy singing at a wedding.
Yes, I was. And
we were so thrilled that you sang at Leslie and Patrick's wedding in Auburn, Alabama.
Yes.
it was so pretty, and you did, of course, such a wonderful job, because that's
Oh,
the way
sweet.
your voice is, and you are. It was fun, but that's coming up. Their 19th
Whoa,
anniversary.
that blows my mind. That does not seem like 19 years ago. And of course, how
I
many
know.
years before that did Robert actually pass away, Patrick's
Robert
dad?
passed away in 2001. Robert,
Okay.
Patrick's dad, uh, in late August, maybe early September, right at that time of year. I'm not
Yeah.
sure the exact date, but about 19 years ago. I mean, 22 years ago
Mm.
now, because Jack was a baby and
Oh my
like 2 months old,
goodness.
and then and Robert passed away. That's how I can remember that. Of course,
Yeah,
Jeannie
and it,
always had a fit because I remember dates and numbers and things.
well, I think also they wanted to get married close to Robert when he passed away, just simply because they wanted it to be a happy time
Right,
too. I remember that,
right,
and I love that, and it was
right.
so happy. Well,
Well,
how about Meredith? You got to give me an update on Meredith.
Meredith is wild as ever. Oh, she's doing really well. She just turned 15 and now has a driver's permit.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, Patrick didn't tell me that one.
oh, but she is. I think she's probably a pretty good driver. She drives with him or with
Mhm.
Leslie. I'm a terrible person for kids to drive with. I know they're. I'm too nervous, worried about them, so I try to avoid that if I can.
Yeah,
So I haven't. I do drive her around, but I haven't let her drive me around yet. But yeah,
she
she's
is
doing great.
gorgeous. That's a pretty
She's
girl
doing
now.
great. Their first home football game is Friday when the dance team dances at home games. They don't dance at away games. So
I
we
know you
got
and Tom love that. I know you must just beam when you see
it's
that
it's
child on
it's
the
fun to
field.
watch them. They have a she
Oh,
they do really they're really good. Them. Don't know if Patrick got into that. They went last March to a competition in Orlando, and they're in the hip hop division of their division. They won the national championship.
oh
So
my! Oh, I
they
remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
remember
awesome.
that was fun. But they work hard. They do a lot of practicing, and they're good, and they're fun, and it's fun for them.
Well, how about Leslie? I meant to ask Patrick if she started classes yet.
Well, she does not teach a lot of classes at Elon. She is the director of education outreach and collegiate start, which are two different programs, but she's in charge of both of those.
That's wonderful.
Has taught a literacy one, which is teaching teachers how to teach kids to read, kind of thing.
Hmm.
But more than that, her main job is placing students as interns and student teachers in the
Yeah,
schools, and then supervising them. So she's
that's
been busy.
wonderful.
Oh, she's off in the summer, so she's been back about 3 weeks now, I guess, and she's busy. She's always
And Tom
busy.
is good too. Everybody's good.
Everybody's good. We just talked about the kids' 19th anniversary. Almost 2 weeks ago, we had our 61st anniversary. I know.
No, that's not
61.
possible.
Yeah, 61 years. You don't get anything special for 61.
No, you just glad they're next to you breathing. You go, okay, we're good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't.
That's so funny. What date is that? What's your
August
anniversary?
August 18th.
Well, we're August 23rd, and we were 43 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
children.
We should get trophies,
I know.
and they
You
would be
only got
saying the exact same thing.
yeah. Another 18 years, you'll be there.
Good heavens, that's incredible. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yes, that was nice. But summer's busy with
Yeah.
we have all three kids' birthdays are in July and August, and Patrick's birthday's in June, and Leslie's is in September. So they wipe out the whole family
Whole family.
In one season there, just
Oh,
about.
that's
So
funny.
so
Well,
that's
then,
good.
so tell me now, you were mentioning so many great things going on with Jeannie's legacy. People still, again, love to laugh, as you
Yeah.
said. So tell us what's on the horizon. What's
Well,
happening?
what we've done, it's tricky because we can't bring out a new DVD. Obviously, we don't
Right.
have We don't have Jeannie, but we have so much material. And she had written books. You will remember them.
Yeah.
In 1990 was her
Yeah.
first book, and it was called Humor the Magic of Jeannie.
Yes, I remember that. I've got
And
that
then
one.
about 5 years later, she did one called Mayberry Humor
Yeah, I got that one
across the
too.
USA. They were hardbound books,
Yeah.
so they've been out of print for many, many, many years. So what we did was we wanted to make them digital because they weren't. So that was the project. But then while doing that, we wrote the email list, the fan base, and said, do you want a physical book? Would you want that too? And a lot of them did. Said yes, they wanted a book. I think people are actually going back to books, if that makes any sense. It seems like
Yeah.
physical books are more popular. So we brought the book back out, and it wasn't, the words are Jeannie's words. Nothing's changed. We did footnotes and things so people understand what she meant, because things have changed in 30 plus years.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so we brought out Humor the Magic of Jeannie first, and it's a softbound book now, softback, as opposed to the original one was hardback. And so we brought those back and have sold almost all of that one.
Goodness.
And it's available digitally too. That
Right.
was the whole point. And then we did Mayberry Humor the same way, and we have a few more of it left because we did it later in the year. And but so that was two things. So then Jeannie had written an article. Well, she'd written in several local magazines over the years. People would want to, could you write us something on humor or something funny? So she wrote a lot of articles. And then about 12 or 15 years ago, she started writing for one of these pickup newspaper, like you pick it up at the convenience stores.
Is that Southern Lady?
No, that's actually a magazine that has done some things, and she spoke for them a lot. These are in the county next to our county, is where it's called Southeast Gazette. And so she started writing every month in that. And so she's done that, and the Southeast Gazette still have them all. We have them all, and can put them together. So what we're doing is compiling those into a book.
Nice.
Which will be available digitally and as a softbound book. Just a collection. Some of the articles were stories that you have, that she told from the stage, and others were just funny things that happened that she never turned into stories, but were funny little anecdotes or funny little happenings, all based on things that happen, because that's what she tells, as you know.
Yeah.
So that will probably, I'm hoping it won't be out by like Christmas or anything, but by the first of the year, we're hoping that's ready. And we, be something people can purchase if they would like. Just another something to have that's Jeannie's voice, but in a different format.
Well, I've always, and I think I know the story, but I don't know if everybody knows just how you all met. And maybe you've told it a gazillion times. Everybody knows, but
I'm sure we've told it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually met, or I remember her from Auburn, because as Jeannie Jeannie will turn 80 September 21st.
Goodness.
And she always would tell how old she was, and like to throw in, and Tony's a year older than I am. So yes, you're right. So I started to Auburn in 60, and she came through in 61. And she came through Rush, and she was very easy to remember. 6'2", funny, outgoing, So that's where I remember her. And then she proceeded to run for everything on campus. So I remember her. She does not remember me, in no way, But that's where we first met. For I first knew who Jeannie Swanner was, her name then, who she was. Then we both ended up living in Burlington. And so in 76, she moved back to Burlington. But it was 79 that she was the Woman's Club, which I was I didn't work, but I was volunteer and was in Junior Women's Club and everything like that, doing a lot of volunteer work. And they wanted to have her speak because she was speaking. She was speaking full time, but it was growing,
Was this on the heels of Miss North Carolina?
This was what?
After Miss North Carolina?
Oh, yeah, this was 1979.
Oh, that's right, because she was in 63. Okay.
Right. She was Miss North Carolina in 63. So, yeah. She had, in 76, they moved back to Burlington.
Okay.
And she started, rather than going back to teaching, she started speaking full time. And she spoke, well, I'm sorry, the phone's ringing, but it will not be a real call anyway. I wouldn't answer it anyway. Because nobody calls me. She started speaking full time, and this women's club knew about her, and they wanted her for their state convention. And they knew I lived in the town she lived in. So they asked, could I contact her, which I did. And she spoke that year for the convention. And I rode with her to Raleigh, which was where the meeting was. And coming back, she was talking about how busy she was. And I said something like, well, you need to hire me to be your secretary. Ha ha.
Oh, my goodness.
And then the next day or so, she called and said, were you serious? And I said, no, I don't know if I'm serious or not. What do you mean? So I started working for her May 1st of that year. And I did do the interview, and it was real close to the story called Hiring Tony. And I'm not repeating it, but it really happened pretty much like she tells it. And so I started working just at I said, only if I can always work out of my house and always work flexible time.
Right.
Because I'm not going to miss a ball game or a dance program or anything else. I've got a carpool here and there. This is what I do. And she said, that sounds good to me. So that's how we always worked. And that's how we always continued to work forever.
Right.
It was, that way, but that's where we met. We met technically at Auburn and then back here.
When you think back, Tony, what is one, and it doesn't have to necessarily be funny, but something that really sticks in your mind as like a real moment that all of a sudden it just dawned on you, we really have something going here. I mean, Jeannie has done this, or we've been here. She tells so many funny stories about you all in the layovers and the little tubes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that came along.
That's funny stuff.
I don't know. We just really, I mean, obviously we're not, she's very creative. Jeannie did a lot of talking about left brain and right brain. And she is right brain, but she's also was the most organized person, business person around. You know this business. You know how hard you work. And you know how hard she worked.
Yes.
So there was like, but we just, I don't know, we just got along really. We just hit it off. I think our personalities just meshed real well. And then of course, over the years, she was, we're much more like family than just friends. I mean, in the later years, I mean, we didn't do anything without she and Jerry. I mean, they were always.
That's incredible. When you think about that kind of relationship, that's rare. That's rare that people can just blend and get along and enjoy each other, and through all the little ups and downs, you guys just persevere and just keep on making it work.
We just don't. We never really. We never. I mean, this sounds silly, but we never had a disagreement. We just didn't. That wasn't part of it. There was no reason to. We did what we did. We just, and everything changed. This business, it changes all the time. Every phone call
all the time
was going to be a totally different experience. You didn't know what was coming. And, and we had some great, weird things happen.
Yeah. When I think about Jeannie just being on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry and an open invitation anytime she wanted,
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah, I know.
I
I
mean,
know.
gosh,
She loved
that,
doing that. That
oh,
you
she
do
was
that
perfect
because
for
you
that.
love it. You do not do that to get rich.
Right, right. It's a
Because
heart commitment.
they pay everybody scale. I mean,
Yeah.
and you get yourself there, and you stay at, get your own hotel or whatever, and so you do that because it's an experience and it's worth it, and you loved it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she really enjoyed doing that. She did enjoy
Oh
those
man,
nights
that just
at the Opry.
that
Yeah.
was incredible.
And
So
and
I
you only get
also,
8 minutes. You get 8 minutes, and that's it.
oh my
But
gosh.
so
Well,
she would work hard at what 8 minutes she was gonna
oh,
get
don't you
to
know
to
the
make it
best
be
stuff.
good. Make it be the right thing.
So Tony,
Um,
we mentioned before we started this recording about Norma Rose, and I know everybody loves Norma Rose as they love you. So give us an update how
well,
she's
I did.
doing.
I emailed her to see how she was doing. We always are going to get to lunch, and we never do. We are 2 or 3 miles apart, but we still. She's really busy. She's doing well. They're spending this week in the mountains. She said they're actually house sitting for a friend who has a house up there in Blowing Rock. And if you've ever been to Blowing Rock, it's a beautiful, quaint little mountain town. It's just really nice. About 2.5 hours from here. So she's doing that. She said, she's like the rest of us who are old.
Dur.
Jeannie called it maintenance. She
Yeah.
said, before COVID, she was like, anytime she was home, she said, all I'm doing is going to doctor's appointments or,
Oh yeah.
dentist appointments or checking you. That's what you do. That's what you do when you get
Yeah.
a little older.
I
But
mean, my mother. I mean, she said getting older is one, and she had a little word in there.
yeah,
Doctor's appointment after another, and then
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
not
the first thing she looked the morning, she'd grab the Charleston Post and Courier, and she'd look at the obituaries and see who she lost.
I know.
And then going to funerals was like a social
Oh,
event.
that's
I
what
mean,
that's all you those come up a lot. Yeah, they
oh
really do.
yeah. So
They
I
really
mean,
do.
Mama said that a lot. In fact, I remember one time I was in a receiving line, and I said, "I'm so sorry about your loss," and Mama was with me. And this woman said, "Do you have one of your books?" I said, "It's in the trunk." And my mother looked at me and she said, "This is wrong." And I said, "Mama, I've got a chance to sell a book." So I popped the trunk, and all these people bought books out of my. I didn't, I guess God was okay with it. I might have to answer for that.
I'm
But
sure that
you
was
do.
fun.
I mean, you take your business everywhere you go, and people just with Jeannie, I mean, I tell you, everybody just still reminisces and talks and just the impact that Jeannie had, and just not only her brilliance and her comedy, but like you mentioned, how she worked it and how she knew what would work. That's what just blows my mind. She
Great
was
time.
so,
Yeah. She
oh
did
my
have
gosh. I mean, just like the shows, the back porch shows. Unreal.
the shows were really that was just weird what that
Yeah.
turned into.
Yeah.
We honestly because she couldn't sit around and do nothing, and as you know, you weren't speaking. There were no
No,
speeches.
that
There were
ship
no
sailed.
theater shows. There was nothing.
Yeah.
Of course, we literally thought it would start at last maybe 6 weeks.
That's what
Maybe,
I thought too.
and we did over. I don't have a count. I know how long it went on, but about at least 60 shows, hour-long shows.
Unbelievable.
We tried to come up with a DVD that was best of kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time going over the shows, and because they're on YouTube. You can find most of the shows on YouTube now, and it just didn't work because it was Jeannie. It was spontaneous, but it was her that made it funny.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and pulling it together. It just what I couldn't do it. It's like this is not something we can turn into something people would want, because
Right.
you can't cut 60 plus hours down into an hour or 90
Oh, it's
minutes.
so true. I tell you, one of my favorite episodes was that charcuterie board.
Yeah, and see, and that was a bunch
hilarious.
of us. It was a great show. But even that, it would take a long time, and it was I don't know. It was hard to explain, but it was like,
I can
I
see
can't
that.
make this work.
I
I
can
don't
see
know how
that
to do this.
because I mean the brilliance of it was knowing what Jeannie was going to spontaneously say next.
Yeah.
You know, I
And
mean that was her gift. She had such quick wit, and yet it was just perfect. The
yeah,
timing, so it's and then another thing, people can just go to YouTube, and a lot of people that reach out to me and they'll say, I can't get enough of the stories. And so they keep going back. And it's funny because I know Jeannie said this to me one time. She said, you know, we might have told that story at the same event 3 years before. They want to hear it again. And they'll come
yeah,
up to me and I'll think, well, I'm not going to tell that one. I already told it. Why didn't you tell the one about going to the grocery store? And they'll
yeah.
never said, man,
Yeah,
that to me, that
yeah,
one and that spongy jumping one,
yeah.
those two, I think probably it made Jeannie even more incredibly popular than she, if it's
Well,
such a thing, you know.
and the thing is, there are over 75 clips on YouTube. That's
Yeah,
what she had, that many up. And now D is Deja is her name, and she goes by D with the Nashville people,
right,
Al and Peg. But D is handling the Facebook page and the
right.
Twitter and the uh, Instagram, and all of it. TikTok, they even are doing TikTok now. She's the master, the guru with that, and she's
Oh, how
really good.
nice.
And
Yeah.
she's done a great job. And they're finding some old clips that were never put up. So every once in a while, they find a new one, something that's actually not been up. But for the most part, there's so many up, but they keep them going. And she puts up interesting posts about what's
She
going on.
does. Yeah.
And her Facebook, when Jeannie passed away, I think we were right around, and I could be wrong, but I think we were right around 120 million views.
Good
And we,
heavens.
as of
Wow.
this week, hit 138 million
Oh
views.
my
So
gosh.
that tells you that people still go and still look back at the YouTube clips and watch them,
Yeah.
because I mean, I know that you can see them over and over and still laugh,
Oh
because
yeah.
45 years of working for, how many times do you think I've heard these stories?
Yeah.
And yet,
Yeah.
if I played Don't Bungee Jump Naked right now, I would laugh at every line, even though I know what's coming. It doesn't
Oh yeah.
matter. It's
Yeah.
still funny, and it
Yeah,
will
it
still
is.
make you laugh.
You know, it was funny
So,
because when I saw Jeannie, the last time I saw her was her last speech at NSA and with national speakers
right.
in Vegas. And she asked me, she said, do you think people would still tune in if I kept these shows going? And I said, yes.
Right.
I think everybody, because you've got some people that, can't get out for whatever reason. And
Well,
they look
and
so. When somebody told me they ate lunch listening to Jeannie, one of the super fans of hers, and how
right,
much it meant to her. And her husband was so glad she was finally able to look at something that she enjoyed, and she
right,
was thankful for this, which made me feel great. And
right.
love just to have a touch of Jeannie remembered and celebrated. And
Well,
finally, I think that's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and it's true that she couldn't keep it going every week because
Right,
shows were picking back up.
right.
When she passed away in August, on the books between then and the next spring, she had 53 shows booked,
Oh my
theater shows.
word.
So,
Oh
and
my
and a lot
gosh.
of theater shows are on weekends, as you
Mhm,
know. So she wasn't going to be able to do it every Saturday. That wasn't going to
mhm.
work. But she was working on plans of, how can I do this? How can I, keep it going, but yet not, um, and not do it. It can't be every Saturday. But the thing that made it easy for people to watch it whenever, because it went on to YouTube as well. So you
Right,
didn't have to be sitting there Saturday at noon, you know.
right.
Um, so this Saturday, when you're playing this,
Yes.
we Auburn football starts Saturday too.
Oh, that's another
And that
thing.
used to be a big thing. It seems like while we were doing those shows, when they started back playing football, Auburn kept playing at noon. And it was like, really? Because usually if you're
Oh, yeah, I
really good,
remember that.
if you're really good, you don't play the noon game too many weeks. But we
That's
weren't
true.
really good that year, so we were playing lots of noon games. And of course, we had great fans who would keep telling me the score in the comments, so I'd be sure to know. And plus, I had another little web, my phone going, telling me what was going on too.
Well,
But yeah,
and then I think that with Jeannie, what she did so beautifully was her stuff was so clean.
oh, of
And
course,
it was clean and it was funny. And it wasn't like this most amazing thing that's ever happened. She would take the common thing and just tell that story, just like sending Left Brain to the grocery store.
right.
That
Well,
and then
all of
that
her
was
stories were
brilliant.
really
Yeah,
simple things.
simple
Yeah.
that everybody can go, oh yeah, and everybody grabs a piece of you and says, I've done that, I've done that. So that
Right.
to me, when you can, and see, I see so many speakers, and because Jeannie mostly was in the theater world towards the last
The
part.
last dozen
Yeah.
years or so.
And she
Yeah.
loved it. I mean, I saw her live,
She did.
and she was incredible. I saw her at the Township Auditorium, and she and Carl Hurley were doing that together. And then she had done that cavalcade of comedy with the buses, and so
She
Jeannie had built this incredible base of fans. And so when she launched out and did the comedy with the theater show, and Al had the secret sauce for that, it was like incredible.
Yeah, it was Al McCree, who's the Nashville people.
Yeah.
He's who had the idea. She had been doing guesting. She was Carl's guest on
Right.
his shows because he had been doing that for a long time, and they and he's a really funny
Oh,
person.
he is so funny.
And she would do but he said, I've done it for a long time by myself. I want you to be on it with me. I mean, they weren't together. They would be together long enough for him to introduce her, but they did their own program. And we did that. That was called Cavalcade of Comedy, and then just the shows. And we did them. Usually those were interesting shows. They were done usually on a weekday, maybe a Tuesday, usually at like 2:00 in the afternoon in a big theater in Charlottesville, Virginia, or Columbia, South Carolina, or all over, and a lot of Kentucky towns, and Louisville and all. And it was incredible to me because I went with her on a lot of those. We could be at that theater at 12:00 and there wasn't anybody, and by 2:00 there were 1,200 people sitting in those seats, and these buses had brought them. And they do the show, and they go. Some of the people on the buses, they would be on what was called a mystery trip, and they didn't know where they were going.
God, love that.
It'd be a day trip. This was back and they called them motor coaches. They not buses anymore. They're motor coaches, and they were really nice. And they were in their heyday. This was obviously pre-COVID, and so that was fun. And then Al saw her numbers growing, and she was on Sirius Radio, being played a lot, and Life USA was the channel, and I think she was on the Blue Collar channel some, and people were learning her name, and and he said, I think you could just on your name sell tickets to a theater. And Jeannie was like, I don't think so, because we had done convention show speeches, which you do. You don't have to worry about how many are in the seats.
No, they just show up as they got
working for them. You're doing what they want you to do. And she loved that. She did it for 50 years almost. And so we still did convention speeches along with the theater shows.
Yeah.
But more, it became more theater shows as her name grew, and she certainly could fill the auditoriums,
I remember so well in NSA, National Speakers. Jeannie probably spoke throughout her career. I don't even know how many times.
5 times at least.
And just to get one time on that main stage.
And did a lot of breakouts and other programs for them. Yeah.
I remember one speech where she had that absolutely gorgeous molded pea green silk suit.
2000.
Yes. And
Washington, D.C.
Yes. And Jerry was standing in the back. And do you remember that guy fell out on the He had
Oh,
some.
oh, that wasn't that. That was not the. I'm telling you the wrong date. That was in Dallas.
Dallas. Okay.
That
And
was yeah. When
that,
she was doing the grocery store.
yes.
No. She was doing the baton story.
The baton.
And she
And
had not done the baton story in a lot of years. She had sort of retired it.
yeah.
And she decided to bring it back and get a good taping of it, a good video of it at that convention in Dallas.
Right.
And a few minutes into the story, a man
Just
who
back.
he was, I think he was diabetic, and he
Yes.
just sort of passed out.
Right. It wasn't, you know, you don't know. But Jeannie,
Exactly.
she said, we need some medical attention.
Right.
And she stopped. And I remember I walked back to Jerry and I said, did you know that Jeannie was, because she hadn't started saying we need medical attention. And he said, I knew something was wrong. I said, how could you tell? He said, there was a phrase that she left out. I thought,
she missed something in the story.
Oh my gosh.
She saw something was going on.
But the beauty of that was that Jeannie knew her material. I would see her on the treadmill in the gym and she'd be going over her material. It was down to a science, but this is to me, I love this part. When she got up in front of everybody, you thought she was just sitting in your den talking.
Right.
It was
exactly.
it related. She was warm. It wasn't like it was this. She just knew. She was so good. And that is just something you learn through life. I mean, you know, really, actually, I call it a little beauty queen technique, because she and I were both, of course, at Miss America.
Right.
But I don't know if y'all ever knew this. I don't know if Jeannie ever knew this, but she was Miss Congeniality, right?
Right.
And by the time I got to Miss America, they quit doing that.
Oh,
so at TV rehearsals, they said, would you walk the ramp? And so I did. I walked that long 140 foot or 400 foot ramp, whatever. And I came back, and the staff of the Miss America people, they said, that is our equivalent to Miss Congeniality. Whomever does the TV rehearsal walking the ramp, I went, thank you. I wish they'd given it to me. That would have been the only thing I walked away with.
yeah. I don't know if they don't give that, but yeah.
No, they don't. You know, I was in one pageant. I think I told Jeannie this. I said there were 20 of us in it, and we voted for Miss Congeniality. And I mean, I was part of that crowd. I admit it. And the pageant director said, all right, we had a 20-way tie. Y'all got to vote for 2 people now. I thought that was so funny.
That is funny.
I'm really nice. I want to win something.
That's funny.
We had a lot of fun talking about the pageant world. And, you know, when Jeannie was Miss North Carolina, they were like royalty. I mean, that was a big deal. When I got a little taste of it, but not like in Jeannie's year. Oh my gosh.
Well, that back then in the dark ages, that was 60 years ago this year.
Yeah. I'm 40.
They had there are 100 counties in North Carolina, and every county had a contestant.
Yes.
You know, so that, I mean, there were it was a big deal, as you said. She was Miss Graham.
Mm-hmm.
And then the competition now is in Raleigh, but at that time it was in Greensboro. So Greensboro is where she won.
Oh man,
actually won. Let me touch base. I don't know if you have ever been here and come to the Graham Historical Museum.
I heard about that, but no, I'd like to hear about. I know everybody would love to hear about it.
All right. Well, they've been. Dee has put some of their posts up on the Facebook page, so some people have probably seen it, because they're putting it on their Graham. There's a City of Graham page, I think, or something. 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, they called Jeannie one day from the Graham Historical Museum, which we didn't even know existed. You know, who knew that Graham had a historical museum, and asked Jeannie if by any chance she had a picture of a particular gown that she had worn when she was not the white formal gown, but another gown that they had heard was made from Hall River. Hall River is a little town up the road. Fabrics. There was a textile mill.
Yeah, they were
and they had donated fabric for making clothes for Miss North Carolina. And yes, she had worn, she had a gown made out of a print material that was Haw River fabric. Did she by any chance have a picture? They were trying to put up a display of stuff the Haw River Fabrics had done.
Oh.
And Jeannie said, I do have a picture. However, would you like to have the gown?
Oh, nice.
And would you like the gloves and the shoes that went with it? Jeannie had everything
Yes.
that she had.
Yes.
Everything she'd worn.
Girl after
she
my
never
own
threw out
heart.
any
I'm with
clothes.
her.
She says when you're 6'2", you have enough trouble finding clothes that fit. You don't throw them out. And that was true. She had trunks full of stuff. And so they said, oh, well, yes, we'd love to have the gown and anything else you want to donate to us. And she said, oh, let me just give you everything. So she gave them, they have every trophy, every crown, that she still had.
Wow.
She used to give crown, you all would get more than one crown.
Yeah.
I mean, they give them different crowns.
Right.
And she used to give crowns away.
Right.
Like when she visit a hospital or somebody was a little girl, she would give them a crown. She'd give them the crown. But they have a couple of crowns. They have the trophies. They have 3 gowns, I think, on mannequins there. And so they made a huge display. Jeannie would give them everything, but she wanted to be involved in the display in putting it together. And she didn't want it to be about her.
Right.
Graham was an exceptional town. They took more people to the Miss America pageant when Jeannie was in it than maybe any town ever. They had, and there's a picture on the wall in the museum of, it's 4 or 5 Greyhound buses lined up. And the people standing in front of them that rode the bus. They took that many bus loads, and then a lot of people drove on their own, just drove to Atlanta. So she named the museum, the exhibit behind her all the way. One small town's, forgotten the rest of the line. Something about for one of what one small town did for one of their own.
Goodness.
That was the subject of the display. And it was a really good display. I mean, she spent a lot of money having signage done and buying cabinets to put things in and putting this stuff up. And it opened in July of 2003. And it took up a whole room in the building. They went upstairs with it and put it up there. About 6 or 7 years ago, maybe, they needed that room. The town of Graham needed office space, and they had that room with this display that had been there for a lot of years at that point. So they called and said, we're going to have to condense it down to a much smaller exhibit. Do you want anything back? Or can we give you this stuff back? And she said, oh, no. 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 The deal was you take it. I developed an attic in my house that I didn't have before because I got all that stuff out. I don't care what you do with it. Well, they did. They said, well, we're saving everything, but we're going to have to put some of it in storage. We had, I don't know how many big boards with articles, every article. I mean, there were a lot of articles written about her in a year because it was the whole year of her being Miss North Carolina. So we went to, they broke it down and we worked with the lady that was doing that. And it ended up a very small display, but still in the museum. And so what they've done for this summer is they brought back out all these boards. They have it really nice because of it being her 80th birthday.
Oh, man.
And the 60th anniversary of her being Miss North Carolina. So they brought all this out and they have it in the museum now. And on September 24th, which is the Sunday after her birthday, they're doing a reception at the museum that day. And, have refreshments and have they have people who, there are still some people, they're pretty old now, who went to Atlantic City and have
Oh my
stories to tell
goodness.
about that. And so, and they have people that were on her high school basketball team with her. You know, they have some local people who are going to tell stories and talk, and they've got videos playing and things like that. So
That is
that's
awesome.
that's a really nice thing that they're doing, and that'll be. I mean, we're advertising it on our on Jeannie's Facebook
Yeah.
page,
Well, I knew,
and
I knew that
and they
there was a presence at in one spot, but this is even, oh my gosh, this is great. That's a destination event.
Well, you know, I
see
mean, and then
that.
they'll take it down, they'll put it back in storage and cut it back down smaller because they change their exhibits down there,
Yeah.
you know. But it still looks good. I went down, actually was down there Friday. It's only open a couple of days a week for a few hours, but they will open by appointment for people. I mean, they take classes through sometimes because they
Well,
have a lot
everybody
of.
listening is going to want to remember that. So give the date again, Tony.
It's September 24th, and I mean, you got to be in the area to make it worthwhile. But
Right.
if you happen to be in the area and want to come by, I do plan to go, and I think Norma's going to go with me if she's home, and I think she thinks she will be. So we'll go check it out and see what's going on. But
Oh
and some of
gosh,
Jeannie's
that's wonderful.
family
That
that
is
may come.
wonderful.
But
Yeah.
it's just something to it looks nice, and it's great pictures, and they've done a good job bringing it back
Yeah.
out. And
That's
like I say,
incredible.
it won't stay out. It's been out all summer actually. So they've had
Yeah,
it
that's
out
great.
several
Well,
months.
one person we haven't talked about is Beaver. What about Beaver?
Right, good. And Beaver's doing great. He and Nisha are happy, and like newlyweds, which they are. But now they're getting ready to be grandparents because Ryder and his wife are expecting their first
Unbelievable.
baby in December. And I know Jeannie would be absolutely having fits to be a great grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
They're doing well. They're actually have just moved to Fort Worth, and
Nice.
they live there. Gray, the other grandson, he's moved to Georgia, coming where and is working with Beaver in the business that they have there. So they're just doing really well.
Oh, it's also good just to hear that. And,
yeah.
Patrick tells me it's hard to ride by Jeannie's house because someone else lives there now. And
someone else lives there.
Gets to
And
him.
I haven't met the lady. A lady bought it, and I haven't met her. I think Norma actually has met her, and I haven't talked to her lately, but she had taken her out to lunch and, had met her. They've done a lot in the house. I don't know what it looks like outside. They did some stuff. It looks really nice. So
that's good. Well, whatever happened to Dumpity Dump at the beach?
It's still in the family because that was
is it?
owned by Jeannie and her sister.
Oh, okay.
And
then Jeannie's sister, I meant to ask you, how's she doing?
Catherine's doing well. She lives in Georgia. She's in a retirement place there because all three of her kids are closer there.
Yeah.
Two of them are in Georgia. And so they're about an hour or less than an hour from her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's there, and last I heard, doing fine. I haven't talked to her in a while. But would you asked me something?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I was asking about Dumpity Dump, and you said it's still in the family.
Yes, it is still there. I'm trying to think. I
hope it's literally still there, because right now, as we speak, that storm
Myrtle Beach
is making its presence.
Right.
And the after effects.
Yeah. I can't promise what's going on now. And I haven't been to Myrtle Beach in quite a while.
Yeah.
The last time we went, Jeannie spoke, and it was before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So it had to be 2019, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess.
Wow.
But we rode over and we checked it out, and she, made sure everything looked good and all that. But
I always loved it. I loved it when she talked about Nito having his luxury home, and she had Dumpity Dump. And everybody knows Nito Cobain, of course, he's first class and everything.
Yeah,
that was so funny when she talked about that.
He had a condo in the building next to it, but up real high, so he could look down on.
Yeah, that's what she'd say. I laughed my head off.
He could look down on that. Yeah, he did. I remember when Beaver was a kid and they were there and Nito was visiting and he said, "Oh, no, you may come use my pool if you'd like. I'll give you the key." And Beaver says, "We don't need that. We've been jumping that fence all week, but we can get that pool. No big deal."
I
So, but
love
yeah,
that. That's
no,
funny.
it's still there and family because it was owned by both of them. I
Mhm.
mean, they shared it. So
Yeah.
they still do. And the others, I think, do actually go there and stay. It's a great place. Or I hope it's still a great place.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm hoping to get my
Hope Myrtle
power
Beach
back on down there. Oh,
yeah, that's right. You said you don't have power.
no, don't
I
have
don't think
power.
we're supposed to get rain, but I think we're far enough north to miss
Yeah. Yeah.
the what's coming through. But
Sure.
Wilmington may not be. They may be getting it out on the coast. Yeah.
Yeah. You just most unpredictable. I've got my daddy's old hurricane map, and he charted on a little tiny magnets. But man, we
Oh,
grew up watching these things like a hawk, looking
I
at
guess
water
so, because
vapor current.
you grew up down there. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to be careful and be keen. I remember this funny story about my granddaddy. They put a pole, and he spoke all that low country. And my cousin Bubba, Sears' cousin, he said, "Now, cousin Frank, that water gets up that pole. Now, come on, I'm gonna come get you." "Oh, that's right, Captain. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go," like that. Water went way beyond that pole. He still wouldn't leave. I'm thinking, good gosh. But those are those old timers. They know, and Goopa could look at the wind and say it's not going to be that bad. It's unbelievable how those folks in our past could remember stuff like that and take care of it. It's just wild. But
Yeah.
that Jeannie was always the kind of person, though, that when I think back on her career, that when I was on the show the first time, she talked about the ring, and that her aunt had on that ruby ring. And do you remember that story? She was developing it, but we kept going back and forth and laughing because it was so funny. I mean, then Jeannie saying, we need to get that ring. And so they talked about that. But the funny part was after the show was over, the phone rang, and it was Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeannie said, "What? I don't have it. I thought you had it." "Oh, I know who has it." So it was somebody in the family, maybe who's not the family anymore. Like we call them outlaws instead of in-laws. So it might have been an outlaw.
I don't remember who they thought had the ring.
And yeah, that probably is in the family vault, literally. But I was so amazed that was a true story. And a lot of people will say that can't be true. And we fluff
Not only
them
was
up.
it a true story, but it was a story that she had never told and didn't think of till she was sitting there with you. And the name of your book, tell me the name.
Bury Me With My Pearls.
That's what reminded her of it and made her. That was totally spontaneous.
I mean, it was incredible.
She had not thought of that ring or that story, and it was an absolute true story.
Hilarious. And that was another thing we came up with when she said, "Bury me with my pearls," and then it hit her about the ring. But the other thing was when she said, "Did you have a Q&A at Miss America or at your Miss South Carolina?" I went, "Thank goodness, no." She said, "Oh, I remember my question." And then her answer, she said she just made up the answer about some person. Do you remember that story? I was laughing so hard. Gosh, and I can't remember the details. So tell me about that one.
Oh, I can't remember the details either. It involved a student.
Yeah.
They asked the question was, what man?
Yes.
Meant the most, and you couldn't say your dad.
Right.
You had to, and she actually, there's always a grain of truth in these stories. There was a student she had admired a lot. It was who you most admired.
Yeah.
At Auburn, who was blind, but it was a woman. It was a girl.
Yeah.
And she knew her well, Oh, wait, I'm getting low power mode now on my phone because we're using it up. I need to get a charger. Anyway, she, the story itself was based, but it was a woman. So she just on the fly thought of that person, but turned her into a man. a boy, because it was supposed to be a male. And then they wanted his name, and they wanted to meet this person. And I don't remember how she got out of that, but that was the story. She knew the person, but it just didn't happen to be a boy, and they wanted the most admired male.
I was crying. It was so funny and so spontaneous, and so and after the show was over, and I got 2 new stories. I went, yay, because we love stories, you know.
Yeah, and I didn't know it either. I mean, that one, a lot of, you know, but they all went down in her tablet. She wrote down all these words, and then she would figure it out and you know, work on stories. She would work on a story. Then when she get it maybe okay, she would start using it in conversation.
Right.
Just go out to dinner and she
just talk to people and say, you know, just throw it in and then start testing it with
and
people
see what the reaction was.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say to me, "You're trying out a new story, aren't you?" And I go, "Yeah,
yeah."
But you got to get people's feedback,
until she got it ready and thought it was ready for the stage or the program, and she would use it and see how it went.
Right.
Because she worked very hard. Jeannie, another thing she did well was, which we realize how well now, she was never topical. Mm-hmm. She never talked about current events.
Yeah.
If you listen to her stories, that's why Humor the Magic of Jeannie was published in 1990. Mm-hmm. Still funny. The stories in it are still funny because they're not dated. I mean, they are dated somewhat just by the fact that it was 33 years ago, you know, or whatever that is. Is that 33?
It's just timeless humor is what it is. It's just timeless.
It is. And she was real careful not to do that. She didn't want to make it be where, I can't tell that anymore because that's out of date. That's not trending anymore, you know. So she was really good at that. And she did that her whole career.
Yeah. It's just brilliant, really. I miss watching her work, listening to her new material. I just have really grieved that loss. And I know you have. And so many of us have. It's terribly hard. And that's 2 years, but I still think about her, and I wake up sometimes and think, golly, I miss Jeannie, just knowing what the impact she had. And we're about at our cutoff time, so it's working out with the phone.
I think we are, and that's good because my phone's getting ready to quit on me, and since my iPad refused to let me get this email, so I couldn't really do it the way I thought we were going to do it.
Well,
of course, most people would have a camera on their computer, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Just your being here is such a gift to everybody, and I know everybody's loving this. Is there anything else you want to sign off with? They sure miss you.
Honestly, don't think so. But we'll be glad to talk anytime, and I'm glad you're trying to do the show and make people. We just like making people happy, and Jeannie wanted to make people happy and keep them laughing.
That's exactly
keep laughing. That's the way.
Thank you, Tony.
That's all we do. Thank you, Jane.
Big
Talk
hug,
to you soon.
A kiss. Okay, darling. Bye-bye. So thank y'all. I hope you had fun. I did. I loved it. Always great to reminisce and bring back special folks. Until next time, y'all tune in. We got a good one coming up.